Good morning. It is Friday, June 25th, 2021. I'm back here for Bed Talk 327. And hopefully you know this, but this is LGBTQ Pride Month, the entire month. And the thing I want to ask you today is, are you having conversations about differences, and more specifically, diversity, equity, inclusion throughout your organization, and throughout your life, frankly? Yes, there's been a lot of attention put to it in the last year. And yes, certain companies and maybe many companies are putting together plans and processes and making pronouncements. But what I'm hearing more often is there's lots of pronouncements, lots of proclamations, but not a lot of change internally. And what I want to suggest that what really needs to happen is to just start having conversations, not just in the boardroom, but in your day-to-day interactions, to have these topics, differences, how to bring people together, how to create a culture, you may have heard this word before, of belonging, not just numbers. We're not having the conversations. And in fact, we're afraid in many cases to have the conversations. Let me give you a specific example. About 6 or 8 months ago, I decided to put my pronouns on my LinkedIn profile. If you go there, you will see that it says he, his, him. I'll tell you in a minute why. Several months later, earlier this year, I was taking a course called Unpacking Power, Privilege, and Difference, which is taking a look at all of the many isms. We were looking at racism, heterosexism, genderism, classism, ableism, anti-Semitism. We looked at all of these, and someone made a comment about that they had put their pronouns in their email signature. I thought, I hadn't thought about that. And so I did that. And that started about 4 or 5 months ago. I also found a link to a little article that someone's answering the question of why they put their pronouns in their email signature. It aligned with my reason as well. My reason is simple. It's my way of saying, I hear you. I want to learn and I want to be inclusive. Like, to me, why should only someone who's different have to make adjustments? And to me, it's a matter of saying, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm open, I'm supportive. And I guess the big message is I'm safe. I will tell you that about once a week, sometimes more, I will get an email or someone I'm speaking to will say, so why do you have your pronouns there? Is that something for you? Is what they said. Is that something about you? And I said, well, why should that be the case? Instead, someone who has their pronouns listed are the other. So I'm basically saying, let's close the gap on otherism. So back to the conversation. This past week, someone asked me about the pronouns, and I gave them the same answer. They said, oh, that makes sense. And this is what his response was. He said, yeah, I don't think we could even have that conversation here. He said, if I'm afraid that if I brought that up, I wouldn't even be heard and I would be at risk. Now that makes me sad. And I'm wondering how many other places do people fear what the culture is to even have the conversation, to ask questions? I know for me, for the longest time, I avoided the conversations because they were uncomfortable and I was at risk. Listen to this language. I felt like I was at risk for making a mistake, saying something wrong. Isn't that interesting? In almost every category, I am in the privileged group. The only one I'm perhaps not is ableism. I have some hearing deficiencies, and I'm going to be 62 years old. So there's some potential ageism. In every category, I'm privileged, yet I'm saying I'm afraid that I'll make a mistake. Let's make more mistakes by coming from the heart, a sincere desire to just to understand others and to close the gap of that otherism and have those conversations. If we're not having the conversations, nothing is going to change. And while a conversation may seem small, it's a part of the change of normalizing the other, normalizing our differences. If we can't talk about it, then we're never coming together. That's my thought for today. Keep taking care of yourself and everyone around you. And by all means, stay connected.